A Contact Report 251 translation. Part 1 of 3 English translation. 251st Contact. Friday, 3rd February 1995, 101 HRs.
Good to see you again, my friend. Welcome to my den.
I'm also happy to be able to greet you again, Eduard, my friend, and I shall pay you dear greetings and wishes from everyone, especially from all those whom you know personally, but also from unknown sources.
Thanks. I hope that I will continue to hear from all of them here and there, from you, of course. Now the year 1995 has begun, and with it the time of the completion of your tasks here on the Earth.
That is correct, but it does not mean that we would end our contacts with you, too. They should continue, even if much more sparsely, as it can often take many months or even a year or two before one of us can visit you again.
That makes me very happy, because I would miss you all very much, especially you, who was practically the only one who visited me in the last years. Now tell me when you will finally withdraw all your people and materials from our planet.
And we have already done that, and nothing on the Earth points to our existence so far if I disregard the materials in your possession. The last of our people left the Earth about half an hour ago. Also, our stations no longer exist, and the original state was restored, so no traces can be found.
Naturally, you had to do that, clearly. But Sva-Oth as well as Asket, Simyase and Quetzal told me that you had to do that when the time came with the year 1995. You also told me the same thing, but you all obliged me to remain silent about it until the time when you would finally leave the Earth. I know the reason for your departure, but I do not know if I can officially speak about it, because you told me that it must at least remain a secret for the time being, at least until 1995, when you leave the Earth.
This secret must continue to be kept, so under no circumstances should you talk about it. We can only explain that our withdrawal from the Earth is linked to the time to come and the events connected with it, in which we must not interfere in any form, and by which we must also protect and preserve our secret of our culture and habitats. This also has to do with the fact that for years things have been happening that were foreseen, on the one hand, and that, on the other hand, are also a reason for our retreat, whereby the context of these things that have been happening on the Earth for several decades was one of our areas of responsibility. We have also fulfilled this task, as well as all the others that have been entrusted to us, and you have played a very important role in making the so-called UFO phenomenon, as it is called by Earth humans, known throughout the world. Through you alone, it was possible to make this topic known worldwide and to lead to controversy, whereby not only sectarians and fanatics of religious and pseudo-esoteric form or gullible and mistaken ones, etc., dealt with it, but now and already for a long time also the most different scientists, as well as authorities, military and governments, who have now for a long time finally dealt with this subject very seriously. A fact which could not have been achieved without your help and the great work which was connected with it for you. You alone are to be thanked for the fact that the worldwide UFO controversy has got going and has led to success, for which we all express our thanks, but which you had to work very hard for. If I consider all the evils that have befallen you, both in terms of your health and in terms of slander, insults, assassinations and hate speeches and much more, and unfortunately we also had to contribute, as you know, because otherwise the UFO controversy would never have come about, as well as the fact that scientists and the military and governments, etc., began to look at it extremely earnestly. For your justification, I may officially speak about this today and state the facts that we have analyzed and evaluated, in detail, the film and photo montages as well as the film animations of all false and fraudulent alleged contactees or UFO observers, and found that their falsified film and photographic material appealed to Earth humans, especially to so-called UFO experts who call themselves ufologists, etc., which also includes renowned scientists. The ridiculousness of the forgeries and the believers in them is striking, but they were extremely effective. This was the reason for us to perform maneuvering movements with the real existence of our flying apparatuses, such as jerky pendulum movements and certain springy hovering movements, which normally do not correspond to the normal movements and flying techniques of our flying objects, but to the ridiculous jerky pendulum movements and peculiar swinging waves of the manipulated films and photos of the UFO swindlers and liars and charlatans. And the reason why we chose this type of movement lies in the fact that it was precisely this that triggered the worldwide and fierce UFO controversy, which of course also had many disadvantages for you because you were accused of swindling and deceit or charlatanry and dishonesty, and it was assumed that you made models and photographed and filmed them. We often felt sorry for you because of this, but we could not change anything, because only by carrying out certain flight maneuvers in the form mentioned, which you were able to film and photograph and then spread throughout the world, was the worldwide UFO controversy ensured, which led to the result already said, and will also bring about further results in the future, which have already become urgently necessary. It may be a consolation to you today that everything has resulted and fulfilled as wished and hoped for, and that you are the most important person today when it comes to contacts with extraterrestrials and in UFO matters, and probably also the best-known personality in the world in this regard. Nat.
Sorry, but I do not presume anything about that, and I can do without it.
And your words and defenses may have been inevitable, but they testify that you are really still yourself. But I have not yet spoken. Of course, it could not fail to appear that envious ones and cheaters as well as counterfeiters of your film and photo material would appear who wanted to make you impossible and destroy your work. Consequently, they were anxious to get hold of your original material of films and negatives, which was not exactly difficult due to your trustfulness. This material was then copied many times and thus distorted by montages and other manipulations so that the appearance of trick shots and photo montages was evoked. The films and photo negatives made from such elements, which were retouched or provided with lines, which worked like threads, cords, wires, or other hanging materials, etc., also served this purpose. These films and photos were then distributed all over the world, including fake original films and original negatives, which were returned to you without you being mistrustful or having any bad suspicions because you trusted those who betrayed you and dragged you into the dirt. Nevertheless, since the beginning of your work, there have been many who really trusted you and knew that you neither pursued cheating nor deception or charlatanry, but are honest through and through. They also saw your films and photos, and it was all of them who recognized their authenticity and your truth and stood by you and helped you immensely. And many of them also suspected that certain things in the films and photos had either been manipulated and falsified by malicious parties or had come about for very specific reasons in such a manner through peculiar flight maneuvers of our flying apparatuses, in order to unleash doubt and speculation and even the worldwide UFO controversy. They recognized that the peculiar flying oscillations and the jerky pendulum movements of our filmed and photographed flying apparatuses were artificially produced in order to achieve something specific in the minds of the human beings. So they accepted this fact and did not let themselves be influenced and misled by slanderous cries, etc., but stayed with you or in the closer or wider group or circle of friends and acquaintances.
Well, that is how it was, and I thank all those who have always trusted me. But now it is time for us to talk thoroughly about all those things that you have forbidden me to talk about before your departure.
Of course. You can talk about it now. It is the time we have to retreat as planned. Something new is now appearing for the Earth humans, and so a new era follows, for which you and we have done a great deal so that everything can happen as intended. You have mainly smoothed the most important paths, and together we have done and fulfilled our duty. At least our task is fulfilled while yours goes on.
I hope I can do my job.
I have no doubt about that.
I do not have any doubts either. But you never know what can happen unexpectedly.
That is naturally correct.
Exactly. You have studied the 23 typewritten pages of prophecies, predictions, and my visions, which you took away from here 3 days ago and brought back yesterday. That is actually what I wanted to discuss with you, whether one is allowed to talk about it or not. In my opinion, there is nothing to be said against it, since you are no longer working on Earth. Oh yes, how does it stand with your Ishwishtum for the Earth? Does that also become invalid with the end of your task?
Odd, of course, because now I have to turn to other tasks.
Too bad, then the Earth is now without an Ishwish.
And that is not quite right, because there do exist descendants of ancient gods who will still make their presence felt. However, I may only tell you about it confidentially if you are interested.
Anyway, then after our official conversation.
So shall it be.
Good then to my 23 pages. Is everything right?
I have not noticed any errors in it if I disregard typing errors. What is not entirely correct is the consistency of the events, but I assume that you did it for reasons of not being able to work out dates and time calculations, which I find very reasonable. In some cases, you have also repeated yourself, for example, when you have an applicability earlier and then repeated it again later in the right place.
Yes, I know that.
Otherwise, I did not find anything that I noticed.
Then it is good. So later, when I write down the report, I will add the 23 pages to what we have said so far.
You can very well do that.